Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Ripple Effect podcast. We are so glad that you are joining us, whether you're watching this online or listening to it on the go. We hope that today's episode will be encouraging for you. Today in the studio, we are joined by Mary Green, and we have a newcomer today, which we're excited about. Mr. Todd Beaverson is in the studio with us. We'll get to him in a moment, but as always, we like to give you a joking sponsor of the week, although last week wasn't, but this week is, and the sponsor of the week is, Mary?
Measuring tapes.
Do you measure up, Mary, is the question.
I am practically perfect in every way.
In every way. Okay, Poppins. Why would we have a measuring tape?
Well, we felt like today this was an appropriate sponsor because we have work going on in the building, both in the green room and outside at the pavilion. And so a measuring tape is a handy tool to make sure that everything is going as it should.
Todd, do you measure twice before you cut? Always?
Not always, but usually.
You learn that lesson quickly, though, don't you? When
you're cutting a 2x4, it's not as important as if you're cutting a 2x12.
There's a little less give there. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but we're so grateful that we have moved beyond just our arms trying to figure out distances here.
Oh, I still do that. I still, if I forget my measuring tape, think, okay, can I
hold the measurement the whole time? I've got about that much. All right. Well, let's recap the previous Sunday. This past week, we started a new sermon series called Pretty Ugly People. And Mary, you're still finishing up
we're still
Summer
working
Blast.
on Toy Stories, yep.
Toy Stories.
Last week was remote-controlled cars, talking about things that have batteries and need to pause and be recharged in order to continue working, just like God designed us and our bodies to need a pause, a sleep, a recharge in order for us to continue working.
Absolutely. If you're not a parent and you don't know what Summer Blast is, or you haven't seen the forms that go out with Summer Blast, Mary picks these themes that go throughout the whole summer, and this year's Toy Story, which you've talked about before, but the way that they pair up with verses is so cool. And Todd, you have firsthand experience with Summer Blast as well. How long have you been doing Summer Blast?
A long time.
Yeah. I was doing junior church before Mary came.
Yeah.
And then, thankfully, when Mary came, I didn't have to do it every week of the year.
Yeah. But Summer Blast is like your jam, though, right? You get to go shoot water at kids and help out outside.
It's pretty fun.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, we did tug-of-war last week.
Oh, did you win?
Well, I didn't really participate that much.
The boys would say it was not fair.
Yeah.
One time he helped the girls.
Yeah, just a little bit.
That's awesome. And another thing I wanted to highlight is this past Sunday we did a blessing bucket for a family in town that lost their home. We're connected through them through Billy and Sammy Dawkins. And we raised some money. We did the blessing buckets, and I'm going to announce this on Sunday, but for all of you podcast listeners, this is a sneak preview. We raised $1,756.70 for them, which will be a great blessing as they're trying to figure out what their next steps are in the loss of their home. So that was a recap of Sunday. If you missed any of the sermons or the things that were going on, check out tlcc.church and you can get caught back up with what is happening and the sermon for that Sunday. All right, we want to give you the TLCC top 3 of what's coming up, announcements that you need to be aware of what's happening. And the first, we've already said this, but we want to reiterate it, it's rescheduling the pool party. Mary, you want to take this one?
We had all-church pool party planned for the Friday night after VBS was concluded so that we had a chance to get to know our VBS families and get connected with them. And unfortunately, we had that storm that came through and blew us sideways. So that had to be rescheduled, and after much toing and froing, we finally have settled on Saturday night, August 5th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Aquatic Center. If weather comes up and we have to cancel and we can't do it that night, it will just be canceled because they're coming to the close of their swim season. Their lifeguards are going back to college and high school, so it's the 5th.
I hate scheduling stuff. It's like the worst thing in the world. Trying to get everybody's schedules to line up is like terrible. So if it doesn't work for your schedule, we're sorry. We did the best we could. This is the best option we've got. You're going to just have to deal with it. I mean, really, that's the long and short of it. So that is coming up. That will be August 5th, 7 to 9. We also want to let you know, if you are part of the XYZers group, the Extra Years of Zest, which is our 55... 55
and plus.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I about...
Yeah, you
shave off a decade
trouble there.
55 plus group. You're not ready for that group yet. Don't even think about it. 55 plus group. They are having an ice cream social, which is going to happen August 6th at 6 p.m. And I don't know all the things they have planned for that, but Ed and Sarah Lewis do a great job of organizing it and getting it together. So if you have questions about it, Ed and Sarah Lewis are the people you need to talk to. But that's happening on August 6th at 6 p.m. here at the church building. And then the last thing is the Barba Community, which is going to happen August 13th in the evening. That's a Sunday evening at 6 p.m. And that's basically a potluck for the church, and we can have some fun and get together. We're going to have games outside. We're going to try to get some of the games that our students love out here as well. But if you are someone who loves to make barbecue, whether that's smoking meat or you've got your own special recipe, we're going to have a contest for you to sign up for and participate in, complete with a prize and bragging rights for the rest of the year. So if you're someone that likes to smoke meat or do any sort of barbecue, we'd like for you to sign up and do that. I'm mainly doing this competition so I can eat the meat. I don't do barbecuing. I don't actually.
I have a question about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since I'm in the junior church, I don't hear the announcements and stuff going on so much. Are you just going to have like one type of prize for the barbecue, or are you going to have categories?
We're not going to go crazy with the categories.
I just wondered because like you might have fish and poultry.
Yep.
And those animals on the hoof.
On the hoof animals.
It probably will have to depend on how many entries we have.
Yeah, if we get a plethora of entries, we might divide it into categories. But for now, it's got to be a type of meat, so it's included in your recipe, because some people do beans and things like that. But it's got to be a type of meat included in your recipe. It's got to be a form of barbecue, and it's got to be delicious.
You have to sign up.
And you got to sign up, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we want to know how many there are in case you've got to divide it into categories. So,
can I tell my barbecue joke?
Please tell your
This is a
barbecue
perfect
joke.
place for jokes.
Okay, hit it.
A chicken, a pig, and a cow walk into a barbecue restaurant. The end.
That's a terrible joke.
It was good. I didn't want to make it.
The end. They did not last long. That's terrible. Do the kids groan when you tell them jokes back there? Do they just,
mostly.
Alright, they're your TLCC top 3. The pool party has been rescheduled Saturday, August 5th. The ice cream social is happening for the XYZers group on August 6th at 6 p.m. And then on August 13th, we're going to have a church-wide potluck. Bring food, bring sides, whatever you'd like to bring. But if you want to be a part of that competition, sign up at the sign-up table in the lobby, and we'll enjoy some good old-fashioned competition. All right, well, this week's Spotlight is Mr. Todd Beaverson, and I wanted to, first and foremost, thank you for coming on. This is not something you were planning to do today.
No.
We snagged him in the hallway. I actually thought we should go down and do it at the pavilion and kind of show people what was going on. Maybe we'll make a short video. But first and foremost, just tell people who you are. If you would, introduce yourself. Tell them who you are and how you're connected to the church here.
I'm Todd Beaverson. I'm married to Dawn. She's been secretary here for a long time.
A while.
I moved to Moberly in 1981 to attend school at Central, and met Dawn at college, and so we've been married since 1984, and I've been attending, started at Union Avenue in 1981, and been attending ever since.
So you are someone that I would consider a perfect model for, not only a perfect specimen, but a perfect model for an individual who, I mean, you went to a Christian college. I'm assuming you thought you'd go into ministry or some.
No.
No? You just went there. What'd you
No,
go there
I
for?
mean, my dad's a preacher.
Mhm.
Well, excuse me, my dad was a preacher. He just passed away about a month ago.
Mhm.
Preached as long as he was physically able to get up and get behind the pulpit. Yeah, I graduated young. I started college when I was 17. Really didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. And so came to college. I thought, well, probably a good place to get myself squared away and figure out what I wanted to do. But, I didn't ever have a plan of a full-time ministry type thing. But I knew I needed more of a biblical background. And so attended Central for 2 years.
So for me, you're a model of someone who didn't go into full-time ministry, but has impacted the church in a great way.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get the idea that I can't be impactful in a church or in a congregation if I'm not in full-time ministry. But you have definitely impacted this congregation in many ways, but you're not in full-time ministry, but you still are full-time participating in the congregation. So have you ever, I guess you already answered the question, you didn't desire to go into full-time ministry. How have you viewed your role of serving the church and being a part of the church, not being in full-time ministry? Because you've always participated. You've always been a part of it.
I mean, God gives everybody different skills. I realized one of the first things when I became a deacon, we had different roles for different people to head up, and I was placed in charge of benevolence. It didn't take long for me to realize that was not my gift.
Not your gift.
Begged off of that, and
were you more of a hard line, get your life together person, or were you a give it too much money?
It was. Well, I won't go into the details, but there were circumstances that I said, I don't know. Yeah, this is not my thing. I mean, I know there are people who are really good at that.
Yeah.
David Sears.
Yeah.
Really good at that.
Yeah.
Not mine. So I switched over to missions and have been doing that for a long time now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Mary? I thought you were.
Oh, I was going to say, I think another one of Todd's gifts is his ability to enjoy kids. The kids love it in the summertime when he's in our class. And honestly, he is just a taller kid sometimes. When we're playing games, and especially when it's the water war weekend, he's right in there with the hose, and those kids love it. They love having him play with them, participate with him. He's also great at drawing out those shyer kids who are a little intimidated by the group, and they'll just pick up their stuff and go in the back and sit down by Todd. And it's like he's a comforting presence for them, and that's been impactful. And this summer was fun because now that you're retired, he came to camp. And again, they love Todd. And he also excels in the memory work challenge.
Yes.
In the summertime, because he can always come up with a rhythm for most every verse that I picked
Are
out.
you the one that comes up with these rhythms?
Yeah.
And so it's like when it's competition time, all the kids are like, Todd's on our team, Todd's on our team, Todd's on our team. And it's like, wait a minute.
So did you do the no temptation has to
Well,
give,
I don't know how.
That one,
We
is that
learned
older?
that both
We learned
when
the same
we were
one.
kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because my kids are going around my house. No temptation. No. Anyways, it's great. It's
Have
great.
you learned it too with them?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
I've got the cadence down.
Todd, you can see Todd lips moving at the back of the room while he's looking at the verse and
As they're doing
figuring out the rhythm that would work best with the crazy verse that I've chosen for that week. And it's understanding that you can remember things to a cadence, a rhythm, a song, and they do. Even when they're saying to me at the end of the summer, sometimes they're still saying it in that rhythm.
So, how do you then? You just retired. Congratulations.
Back in November.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, I guess before I ask the question, I should say, how's that going? Do you enjoy it, or
I recommend it.
Is it what you? Okay, it's what you were wanting.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's great. People ask me, "What am I doing now?" And I say, "Anything I want to."
Yeah.
It's nice to have the free time to, spend time with my grandkids more. Like the project we're doing right now. I mean, it's.
You can be here on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when you think about individuals, this is for me. When I think about individuals who I don't fit a certain mold to serve in the church, or I may be working full time, or I'm not in full time ministry. What would you say to individuals that feel like they are somehow less than or hindered to actually participate because they don't see themselves as, I'm not Daniel on the stage, or I don't have the full time role that some of these people have?
Everybody has talents. I don't care who you are, everybody has talents. And God calls us to use our talents to His glory, whatever it is. You're stocking shelves at Walmart, and we all walk through Walmart every week.
Yeah.
And there's people walking up and down those aisles every single day. And I'm sure if you're in there full time, because I see people that, you can see people who just need someone to say hi to them. And you never know when that saying hi to somebody in the store might lead to a conversation, about anything.
Yeah.
Just like the kids in junior church, you can tell which of those kids don't have two parents at home, and the boys, especially that don't have a dad at home, they always want to come up and give you a big hug and tell you what they did this week. And it's the same people wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. It's a matter of just paying attention to what's going on around you. And there's always people hurting everywhere that need a hug, that need a friendly word. You don't know sometimes just looking at somebody in the eye and smiling at them, what that means to some people.
That's great. Well, I've always been encouraged by you and impressed with how you serve the church. Even when you were working full time, you still were committed to participating. You don't love meetings, so
No.
We're not calling this a meeting. We're not calling this a meeting, and I'm not. I totally understand that. Let's talk about missions, because you have served as kind of the director, heading up the missions here at the church. So you've had a hand in different avenues, different areas of the missions work that we do. One of the missions you're particularly connected to is Fidel in Mexico. Tell me about how you first got connected with him, your first trip and your last trip. So the latest trip that you took, compared to the first trip, and how you got connected with him. Paint the picture for us.
When Doug Delp first came to church at Union Avenue, they had a relationship already with a group. There were 4 or 5 churches from the Midwest that each year would travel to Juarez, Mexico, and just do basically benevolence while we were there. Go to nursing homes, children's homes, orphanages, and just take them supplies, whatever they might need. And so I went on that for a couple of trips. And during one of those trips, the man leading it was from Spanish American Evangelistic Ministries in El Paso, Texas. He said, "Well, we want to go out to this village. It's about an hour and a half drive out there, but there's a young ministry there that we would like for you to meet, and maybe think about supporting him if possible." So we made the trip out, an hour and a half, and it was across the desert, and the highway was not good. Don't complain about the roads here. It was horrible. And we got out to this little village, about 400 people, and we met this young guy named Fidel Mancinas. I'm guessing probably was in his 20s, late 20s at the time. He was spending his week working in Juarez in a factory for $50 a week. then on the weekends, he would drive back to the village and preach at this church that they were just getting started. And so Ed Weckerly, the man from Spanish American Evangelistic Ministries that introduced us to him, said, if you guys had the ability to, come up with $50 a week to support him, he could quit his job in the factory and become a full-time preacher. So at the time, we had a class here called Family Builders. It was mainly young couples. That was back when I was
the young couple.
Yeah, I was probably close to your age, with kids about the age of some of your kids. So, talked to the class, and I said, we're talking about $200 a month. Surely we can come up with. Well, we did, and it was not even a problem at all. We came up with way more than that, per month. And so we started supporting Fidel, and so that was 25, 6, 7, I don't remember, years ago.
Yeah.
That we started doing that, and we still, he's moved to a different and started a second church now. Found a young man to take over the first ministry and moved to a larger city about 2 hours away and started a church there. And that church is growing. It's been in existence now for 5 or 6 years. Started out as a house church, and now they have 70 to 80 people a week on a regular basis. I could tell you some stories there that just are what keep me
going.
Yeah, it's. But I don't want to take much more time for that.
So your last trip was recent.
Mm-hmm. Last February.
Last February, you guys went out there, and sometimes your trips are working. Well, usually you're working.
We do some work, yeah.
But it's also encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also times where you go and encourage Fidel, too. And it's cool to see that relationship where sometimes people view missions as a church just writing a check to make themselves feel better, This is a relationship where you've been working with this guy for, 20 plus years, which is pretty neat. What do you think the future holds for him? He's now kind of, I wouldn't call it in the sunset years of ministry, but he's getting older.
He is. He's just a couple of years younger than me.
Well, then very young.
Late.
So young.
I think he's about 58, 57 or 8.
Is he starting to think about, he has a young minister. Is he starting to think about secessions and people taking over? He's still very much hands-on.
He is, and I don't know what his. I feel like he's kind of like my dad, where
he's going to preach till he's done.
Yeah, he'll be standing up there one day preaching, and then he'll just stop, and then they'll just pick him up and take him out and bury him,
and then he'll go meet Jesus.
But I don't know that he has ever really considered there might come a day when he's not able to get up and preach anymore.
Well, you got to admire that kind of commitment and passion.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. We've had Fidel here before. The last time he was here, he sang a little bit and he spoke. And I can't wait till he can come back to do that again. And we just had a painting. We just had it was his dove painting that we were doing some work back there that we got out again. So we're going to frame that, I think, and hang that around the building. So it'll be cool to see. Well, I always ask...
You were going to ask him about the pavilion.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about the pavilion. Yeah, so how's it going? We're turning that into a garage.
Yeah.
How's it going? Is it all right? Do you think it's a good thing? Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, we've been talking for quite a long time about building a building to put our vehicles in. And, it started out as it would be nice to have, but now it's we have to have, because we've lost track of how many catalytic converters we've had stolen off of them. And plus being good stewards of those vehicles, sitting out in the weather, in the hot sun and in the cold, is not good on them. And so, we've wanted something for a long time, and we came up with the idea of, the pavilion's nice, but how much do we really use it?
Not a whole lot.
And I didn't realize, that building's been there for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And no one goes and does a close inspection on the building to see what kind of shape it's in. And
So when you got down there,
well, let me tell you, it was in way worse shape than I thought. And
Yeah.
if we didn't do something to it, the weather was going to take it away. I mean, a really good wind it would be gone.
Yeah.
Because the poles that go into the ground are almost completely eaten off by ants.
Yeah.
And it was listing.
Just a little.
Yeah,
Oh my.
it was leaning towards the pond about 4 inches.
Wow.
And so something, whether we did this or not, something had to be done.
Yeah.
Well, the idea was, well, for about $12,000, we can turn that into an enclosed place to put the vans, plus
Plus
get
some
rid of a
storage.
couple of the sheds that are back here that are in so-so shape,
Right.
and store all of our dry-food Bethlehem and stuff in there. And so, that was the first idea, and then we thought, well, we hate to lose completely a place to have picnics and stuff like that. So then the next idea was, well, maybe we can put a lean-to on the pond side, which in some ways will be better than the pavilion, because when it's windy, you'll have the building there to protect from that. And, we typically get a north or west wind, and so that would be completely protected from that. And so, it's just great that we have so many talented people in the congregation
Yeah.
that have different abilities and willingness to help with, we had to have some electrical done, some framing, and garage doors, and just all of those things. And so many people have stepped up and just donated time, materials, and several of them said, "Please don't mention my name. I'm not in it for that." And it's just great that we have all of those abilities.
It is great, and it's a testament to not only the deacons who are participating, heading it up, you yourself, but also just to the individuals in the congregation who, again, you might feel like, my role isn't as important as other roles, but no, it's incredibly important, and we're grateful for everybody that's participating in it. So hopefully soon you'll see that project completed, and you'll maybe we'll even get to participate in enjoying that the rest of that out there. But we're grateful for the work that you guys are doing. All right, Mary has the blessing of the week to wrap this up. Mary, would you share with us the blessing of the week? This is 2 in a row, by the way, for her. It's going on your record now that you're a pro at this.
I should be able to take a couple months off.
Is that what this means? Okay.
One of my favorite chapters in the Psalms, and I like the Psalms for a variety of reasons, but is chapter 119, and it's the longest chapter, but it's also arranged by the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet. But it starts off like this: "Joyful are people of integrity, who follow the instructions of the Lord. Joyful are those who obey his laws and search for him with all their hearts. They do not compromise with evil, and they walk only in his paths. You have charged us to keep your commandments carefully. Oh, that my actions would consistently reflect your decrees. Then I will not be ashamed when I compare my life with your commands. As I learn your righteous regulations, I will thank you by living as I should. I will obey your decrees. Please don't give up on me." And I love that because it starts off saying, when you are following God, when you are trusting him, when you are ordering your life around his guidelines, you have that joy, that knowledge that he is with you, he is providing for you, he is helping you, he is with you, he's guiding you, and you don't have to be worried about comparing yourself to what his word says. You are already being thoughtful of that and considerate of that when you live your life. And so the way we can say thank you for what he's given us and what he's done for us is by living like we should and according to his commands. Just like Todd was saying, looking for the people around us, giving them that smile, that word, that encouragement that says, you are loved by God and you are worth my time, and looking you in the eye and saying thank you and I appreciate you and you are loved. And I love that he starts out that longest chapter by saying, good things happen when you're living according to his guidelines.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
good.
like that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for joining us this week. We pray that you've been encouraged and informed, and we can't wait to see you here next week on the Ripple Effect podcast. Thanks for joining us.